Hi, everyone, and welcome to Riipen's product webinar. You can see our attendees gradually coming in, so I'm going to get us off to a start here, though I will get us off to a slow start as I'm sure a few people will continue to join as we go. So I don't want to delay too long as we do have a fair bit of content to get into, but no worries if you join partway through. So first of all, welcome. We're super happy to have you all here today to talk a little bit about recently released and upcoming product features. Today I'll be joined, so my name is Emily Mashing, Director of Product at Riipen. I'm joined today by Emily Elias, our Product Manager. Emily will, for those of you who interact with us regularly, Emily will become a more and more familiar face to you. I'll be off on maternity leave in December, and Emily will be filling in for me for the next 8 months. So you'll be in excellent hands with her while I am away. And then Jan Natividad from our marketing team, our product marketing manager, will be covering Riipen metrics and leading a fireside chat with one of our educators today as well. So what we'll be covering today will be a little retrospective of the last quarter, some of the most notable features we've released, overview of the current platform metrics, the fireside chat with Kris-Hodgson Bright from Lethbridge College, and a little intro to some upcoming features that are planned for the remainder of the quarter. Then we do plan to allow some time for Q&A as well. So if you have questions, we would love to hear them. My colleague Jennifer will be putting some tips into the chat, but you can continue to post anything within the chat itself or use the Q&A function in the Zoom meeting, which you'll find in the bottom center of your screen. If you do use Q&A, it's a little bit easier for us to find and ensure we answer your questions, but feel free to get into dialogue into the chat as well. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage before we get into the retrospective with a little context under Riipen's big goal, which is 1 million learner experiences by 2025. So that's what we're all here for, and that's what we're aiming towards. And Jan will be sharing an exciting milestone towards this goal a little bit later in today's webinar. Oh, apologies. I did forget to mention we will be asking 2 poll questions through Slido. So if you could pull up slido.com and enter that event code, which Jennifer will also be posting into the chat, that will allow you to answer those poll questions live. There's just a couple areas that the product team is looking for insight into from our attendees. That would be great. So that's slido.com. All right, so a little retrospective. The last quarter was actually quite a big one. There were a lot of releases and I won't be able to speak to them all in detail, but everything that's in the blue color here I will be going into. Whereas those in gray, if you have any questions about them, like the reporting overhaul, the recommendation engine changes, please do feel free to post a message in the chat or even to email product@riipen.com later, and we're happy to share more about those. So first up, I did want to mention a change that I actually highlighted in the last webinar that was upcoming was the post-publication content recommendations. So if you have published content in the last 3 months, you will have seen this, that when you create a new course, internship program, or project, we now showcase recommended content to you immediately after publication. And this uses our new recommendation engine, newly updated recommendation engine. So the goal here was to make it really easy for users to find relevant content where you need it and precisely when you need it, and to increase the number of requests that are being sent in our marketplace early and proactively by users. We have actually seen a very big impact from this. So we're really happy to report that about 65% of users do click through to a recommendation from this page. And the requests sent by employers in the first hour after they publish a project has increased by 15%. So this has really contributed to marketplace activity and made sure that our courses and internship programs that our educators are publishing are receiving many requests from employers. Another change released in August was probably our most highly requested feature of this year, I believe, which is custom questions. So what custom questions does is it allows any educator who's publishing a course or internship program on Riipen to set customized screening questions that employers need to answer before they can submit a project to your course or internship program. So the reason we added this is that as our marketplace has grown, the quantity of project applications was not as much of a concern and quality became a larger one. So we were hearing from educators, I'm getting applications from employers who aren't fully reading the requirements. I'm getting low quality applications. How can we screen some of these out in an automated way? So with custom questions, you can add any number of questions to your course or internship program, whether these are requirements, such as I will provide a data set for students to analyze, or text questions, such as how many employees does your company have? Employers must answer these before they can submit a project, and this allows some employers to exclude themselves before they submit, and it also allows educators to assess more efficiently what employers are appropriate for their course or internship program. So because this was added in August, we were watching very closely to see what the impact on request submission rate would be, because this does make it slightly more time consuming for employers to submit a request. We were very happy to see there was no discernible drop in the request submission rate, which was definitely a big win. And we have seen a small improvement in the request acceptance rate. However, because this was launched in August, not all fall courses and internship programs heavily used this feature. They tended to use the requirements more than the text questions. So we do hope to see a bigger impact from this feature going into the winter semester. So if anyone has questions about how to use this feature, our support team would be more than happy to help, but you'll find it in the course or internship program wizard under the company step. And I'm going to pass it over to Emily E. to talk about the next two features.
Great, thanks, Emily. So this next feature is the Google single sign-on. So as many of you probably may have already seen that it's already up. It was released last month. The Google single sign-on is the most popular of the single sign-on choices among most users, and is actually highly used, even more than LinkedIn. Our goal with adding this new feature was to decrease the amount of time and mental effort that it takes to create a new account, and providing a fast and easy way for existing users to sign in. Since this implementation, we've seen a great improvement on the conversion rates from the sign up form across all user types. So great, yeah, great to see such an improvement with such a kind of an easy little fix there. And the next one. So this next one is performance improvements. It's not as flashy as some of our other improvements or features might be, but it is still just as important. To give you a bit of a glimpse under the hood of Riipen, when you're doing something as simple as loading a page in the platform, on average, you're actually making 4 or so requests to the backend to load the data to display on the page. So this affects the page load speed, which you may have noticed. And especially depending on the page that you're loading, the more data, the longer it's going to take to load. So with these performance improvements, we've actually improved the speed and efficiency of the request, such that 96% of all data requests, data loading requests now load in under 100 milliseconds. This is a 16% increase from the previous benchmark of 80%. So to give you a little perspective, 100 milliseconds is, a blink is actually 300 milliseconds. So it's very fast. And I'll hand it back to Emily. I believe we have a poll question.
Thank you very much, Emily. So yeah, for anyone who's in the Slido, that's slido.com using the event code on the left. We do have a poll question for you from the team, which is tangentially related to the custom questions feature release. But what I'm curious about is, if you're an educator who interacts in the marketplace, what's the most common reason that you decline a company's project? And the reason we're asking this is that we are always concerned about the quality of project submissions that we're getting from employers in the marketplace. We want to make sure that we are closing applications in a timely manner. We want to make sure that the projects in the marketplace are of a good quality and that the submissions you receive are appropriate to your course. So what we hear is that, sometimes it's about the company, sometimes it's about the project, sometimes it's just about the timing. You've already got enough projects. So it's great to see. Thank you so much to everybody who's answered this already. The leading response, not too much of a surprise, but project scope not appropriate for the learning objectives of the course or student abilities. That makes sense. Other, I am very curious about, and if you answered other, if you could pop your response into the chat, that would be fantastic. I'd love to hear what that other reason is. I already found enough projects is actually fairly low, and company characteristics is also fairly low, which is interesting. So thank you so much to everybody who's responded so far. I'm going to come back and check this poll question later if you do still want to put in an answer later on during the webinar. And I'll pass it over to Jan to talk about some of our big current metrics.
Amazing. Thanks, Emily. So as always, we like to highlight the growth of our marketplace. These are our current metrics, so numbers from just the past couple of months or so. One thing quickly to note is we have almost 600 live courses on the platform right now. I've even begun seeing courses for the winter and spring semester of 2022. So if you're an educator and you're teaching in winter, spring, feel free to reach out to us and get your course up and running. It's never too early to do so. But what I am super excited to announce, and if any of you have been on our blog or any of our social media sites in the past day, is that we've achieved the incredible milestone of 100,000 learner experiences. And this is just from the past 5 years, even though the company is about 8 years old now. We only started tracking this number about 5 years ago with our current platform. Translating that to learner experience hours, that's over 7 million hours. So as always, or as we should be, we are celebrating, and we want all of you to join in celebration as well. Feel free to go to LinkedIn and Twitter and check out the hashtag Riipen100K. We'd love for you to tag the learners or even the employers that you've worked with. I believe Jennifer's already added in the chat, but we've shared a social toolkit where you can download all of the graphics and all of the other media to help you make your posts there. Our next goal is 1 million by 2025. Emily, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. Our next goal is 1 million by 2025. And we hope you can celebrate with us again. I know going from 100,000 to 1 million seems like in just 3 years or so is quite a big leap, but we're super confident. Just in 2020, or just in the past 9 months in 2021, actually, we've more than doubled, or we've almost doubled actually, the number of learner experiences that we've achieved in 2020. So if we keep going at this rate, we're super excited. We're super confident that we'll get to that 1 million by 2025. So with this 100,000 milestone, we want to zoom in a little bit and chat with all of you, the individuals who helped build this community that empowers learners. That's why I am super excited to bring onto the stage Kris-Hodgson Bright from the Faculty of Digital Communication and Media from Lethbridge College to chat with us about his experience and impact. Let me actually first and foremost bring Kris onto the stage. Hi, Kris, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Great, thanks. Thank you so much for joining us. And I guess first and foremost, would you mind introducing yourself to the community?
Yeah, so hi everybody. Again, for those who didn't see my name in the chat there, I'm at Lethbridge College here in Southern Alberta. I've been teaching journalism and multimedia for the last 10 years. And yeah, my background is a bit of journalism, economic development, a little bit of focus in renewable energy. So all those things came together, and it's been really great to see how Riipen helped out in the last year.
That's great. Really quick question, actually. How long have you been using Riipen in your classroom?
Yeah, so it was in the midst of, right when the pandemic started. I think we were first notified in March or April or May of 2020. And then right after that, I signed up, created a profile, and got things rolling for that fall 2020.
Amazing. So yeah, just a little bit over a year.
Yeah.
So you mentioned digital communications and media at Lethbridge. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So our program is a 2-year diploma, and it's really exciting. I did a 4-year degree, and I wish this program, I knew about this program back when I was in undergrad, but it's really exciting because we give the students a lot of the skills to start their own business or to join a media company. So they're given a laptop, they have a digital SLR, so a digital camera, and then they also have recording audio equipment. So then they're able to go out and take photos, video, record radio stories, and do all of that on their own, totally independent. And we get them ready with the Adobe Cloud the suite of all those programs like InDesign, Photoshop, Premiere, so that they're familiar and they're ready to hit the ground running. And it's been really exciting since we have a television station, a radio station, and we put out a magazine every year, plus newspapers. So really giving them hands-on opportunities, and it's pretty exciting to see. Just even in the last 10 years, as we all know, journalism has evolved incredibly, and we connect with industry partners to make sure that we stay current. So it's very fun, and it's amazing how fast 10 years has gone. I can't believe I've been teaching that long. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for sharing a little bit more about that. I guess you sort of touched on it a little bit already with kind of the way the digital DCM is structured. But just from your perspective, why did you want to bring work-based learning into the classroom?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for something fun, new, and exciting. And I thought with everybody in the last year, since we were all taking our classes from home, so whether instructors or students, it was really challenging to get the students out and doing stories in the community. There was a lot of anxiety and stress that kind of revolved around going out and interviewing people. So we thought, and I just saw this and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so I learned about the Riipen process from one of our Center for Teaching and Learning and Innovation reps at Lethbridge College, Lexi Schartz, and she was just so helpful in letting me know all about the program. And then I got introduced to the Riipen team, and it's been a lot of fun ever since.
Great to hear. Were you doing anything like this before within the classroom?
The most innovative things I think I was doing up to this point, and the most entertaining things that I kind of brought into the classroom were a lot of guest speakers. So I brought in like an investigative reporter from the Toronto Star, talked to people from Vice. I was talking to different journalists from across the country, even people from TSN. And that was a lot of fun to just open the students' minds a little bit outside of the classroom, but this took things one step further for sure.
I love that. Yeah, like at the end of the day, those experiences are technically experiential learning. And fun fact for everyone, Riipen was actually started because someone came into our co-founder's classroom over at the University of Victoria many years ago. He talked about his experience and all of that. And that's kind of one of the things that helped inspire Riipen and start it. So one small thing could help build something like this. So in terms of that, Emily, if you don't mind going to the next slide, I'm super excited about this because just learning that you've only been with us for a little bit over a year and seeing all of this already. I guess first and foremost, before I talk about all of this, how's the experience been so far, and how's the students, have their experience been?
Yeah, it's been great. So I found about 5 partners in the last year, and 3 of them were real superstars and really worked out well. There's a couple that didn't quite pan out the way I wanted them to, but it was all good. And it was kind of lessons learned from that experience, just with the ability to connect with the employer. And there was a little bit of expectation for mentorship that didn't quite pan out as I wanted. So it's been really successful. Yeah, out of the 5, these 3 that are kind of highlighted here were a lot of fun. And yeah, it's been neat just to hear kind of the feelings about how the students responded to it. They're very excited to learn that they could get involved in something that connected them with people. There's representatives here on the screen. We have Boston, Los Angeles, and it was, I think, yeah, Saskatoon, and I think it was a second California-based company. So.
Yeah, can you actually speak to what exactly we're looking at?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if anybody can see my mouse. If you can't, that's totally fine. But the far left here, so Cognito Comics is this icon of this person here on the left-hand side. And so it was Daniel Berwin, and he had created about 10 years ago interactive graphic novel. And so what that means is that you could actually read essentially like a comic book on your iPad. And he created the whole platform to transition that from the iPad to a desktop computer. So he was looking for students to provide user design experience in how well he did that transition. And if the students understood the story, because this is actually an event that happened between the CIA and it was a really interesting story about corruption and all this stuff that was happening about back in the 50s. And so the students were quizzed at the end of each chapter to see if they understood where the story was going, if there was any confusion to make sure that they really got a good understanding of what it was. And then they also created social media posts here, and they're actually in the middle. These three are the social media posts that corresponded to that assignment. And students really got engaged and excited about, they thought, well, this is amazing. And they didn't know something like this existed. And there's a lot of great animators in the multimedia program here at Lethbridge College. And they thought, oh, this is amazing. I didn't know I could do this and create some animation to some of my drawings. And so there was a lot of excitement in the classroom. IISB, so the circle here in the bottom kind of left is International Indigenous Speakers Bureau, and they're out of Saskatoon. And so it was Jeff and Shannon are the CEOs of that organization, and just really warm and welcoming individuals. And so the students had to create profiles of Indigenous speakers from around the world who wanted to improve their profile and improve their marketing presence on their website. So each student was then matched up with one of these Indigenous speakers. And it was great because before we even got to that stage, Jeff and Shannon provide some.
Oh. I think we lost Kris. Well, I believe we lost Kris. I think he'll come back soon. I guess his computer died or something. But why don't we pass it back to Emily? And if Kris comes back, we can revisit the conversation.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Sorry about that. That was at a very interesting part too. It's awesome to see the work that Kris's students have been doing. He might have lost his internet or something, but hopefully we'll get him back. So Emily and I are going to retake the stage here and speak a little bit about some upcoming feature releases that are planned for the remainder of the quarter. Over to Emily for this first one.
Thanks, Emily. Can everyone hear me? I am unmuted properly.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the search page reconfiguration and subcategories. So this feature is a bit of a two-parter. Before we implement the subcategories, we needed to kind of reconfigure the search page to provide more room for the filters to be used, that the subcategories will be used in. So the search page configuration was actually released just this past Monday. So some of you may have already noticed it on the search page, just a little bit at the top. There's a little bit, the way it's laid out is different now. And so with that done, our next step is to do the subcategories, which will be coming soon. The subcategories will allow users to be more granular when they're tagging. So for example, marketing is a category and SEO is a subcategory. Having more granular tagging will improve the content discoverability through both browsing and the automated recommendations that we provide. And that's it for that one. I'll hand it back over to Emily for the next upcoming feature releases.
Thank you very much. So the next release that is currently in progress are some improvements to School Pass functionality. So for those of you who haven't used this, what this is the functionality that allows an educator or an administrator to invite a company to work specifically with your institution on Riipen. It's become quite a heavily used feature with more than 10% of projects published in the last year coming through School Pass invitations. But there have been some issues that have prevented schools from adopting this as widely as they might like. So we've taken on board all of the feedback that we've been hearing from those who've been using it, and we're currently in the process of implementing it. What these changes are going to be, it's actually a whole set of improvements, but first of all, we're going to allow for more customization in the content of School Pass invitations and an easier way to track and view the status of invitations and the progress of your signed up companies. We're also changing the sign up experience for School Pass holders so that the sign up experience is actually tailored to posting content to your institution rather than being generic and the same as an ordinary employer sign up. And then filtering access to content outside of your school so that School Pass holders will see your content wherever they are on the platform. So these changes are being released, not all in a batch, but basically as they're ready, because they all sort of work independently. So the first changes have already been released, with a couple changes that you can see today when you invite a school pass holder, such as the ability to attach a custom message to your invitation, and changes to the companies tab of the school pass section of your school, where you can now see alongside the company name, you can see their location, you can search them, you can filter by industry, you can see the number of projects they've published, the number of matches, etc. So we're just trying to take on board what we've heard that would benefit administrators and add like more richer data to this section of the school dashboard, as well as some of these upcoming changes, which will more directly impact the employer experience. So the goal here is to increase customer satisfaction amongst our school pass signups and increase ease of use and decrease time spent with those school pass holders by educators and administrators. So stay tuned for continuing features being deployed in this area over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Next up, this feature is going to be largely developed in Q4, but may end up being released in early Q1, some changes to the team creation process. So what we're doing here is, again, this is in response to feedback that creating teams on the Riipen platform is one of the more time-consuming activities that you do in your interaction with Riipen. So we're making some changes here to allow you to create all your teams at once, rather than having to do the process individually for every single team. You'll actually be able to select signed up students from a list rather than inputting their email addresses if they've already created an account. You'll be able to add multiple learners to a team all at once, and you'll be able to add learners to a team without requiring them to accept the invitation before adding that membership is finalized. So the learners will simply be added to the team. They'll be notified of that, but they won't actually need to accept an invitation. So it shortens the process somewhat. So the goal here really is to decrease the amount of time, again, that educators need to spend doing sort of routine tasks on the Riipen platform, while giving you a little bit more control over the learner experience, and to make the sign-up process smoother and easier for learners, so that more students will complete this without needing to rely on their instructor or on Riipen for support. Next up, I do have a question for the audience, and I'm going to ask you to go back to Slido again if you are not already in there. That's slido.com with the event code on the left. And instead of a multiple choice, this is just an open-ended question to pull our audience to see, if you could have integration between Riipen and any other platform, what platform would you choose? Integrations are going to be a large part of our product strategy for 2022. And we'd love to hear what platform people are specifically interested in. So this is great to see already. I think some of the users, so I would be really curious to hear, for those of you who've posted Blackboard, we do have a current integration with Blackboard, which allows for single sign-on for students and educators to the Riipen platform through Blackboard. However, I'm really curious to know if you're interested in using that integration, or if you're interested in deeper integration between Riipen and Blackboard. So if you would be interested in popping that information into the chat, or even emailing me at product@riipen.com, yeah, I'd love to get that extra context. Not surprised to see Zoom has appeared a couple times. That is very much on our radar, and something that we are in the exploratory phases of adding Zoom integration into our messaging center. Slack is another strong possibility. We do actually have the ability to integrate with Slack through our Zapier app, if anyone is interested in that. So that will basically allow you to cross-post events or information from the Riipen platform to Slack using Zapier. So if anyone's interested in learning more about our Zapier app, again, don't hesitate to contact your Riipen rep, and they'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that. So no really left field suggestions in here. I'm definitely expected to see Zoom and Slack, and I'd love to get any more context for those of you who've answered Blackboard. Thanks very much for the responses. And if you do answer this poll later, we'll definitely come back and check on these responses as well.
Before we chat about the white paper, Kris is back. So, hey, Kris, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but my laptop decided to die at just the perfect time.
The virtual world, that always happens. It chooses the right time to cut you off. But yeah, we're in the middle of a really interesting conversation about kind of the different work that the students have been able to work on. I think one thing that was really impressive. And I think the power of experiential learning and exposing your students to this is the fact that, well, I guess it's what I just said, you're exposing students to all of the different things that they can use the skills that they're learning in the classroom for. You know, when I went to a traditional business school and kind of went through the normal route of, okay, I'm going to work at one of these really big banks or one of these really big firms. And then I had to kind of explore on my own to realize, oh, I love tech, because tech is not really something that most, at least way back when I was going to school, tech didn't really visit my school that much. But yeah, any other things here that you'd like to highlight, Kris?
One thing that I'll mention is that on the right hand side here, there was another opportunity where we got to work with this company out of Boston, where the students actually got to write about artificial intelligence. And so that was really amazing, because in all of these opportunities, at least, so for International Indigenous Speakers Bureau, for Dorkaholics, the center here where we talked about, I didn't even get to this, but the students got to write pop culture pieces. And so about their favorite movies, their favorite music, any of those things that they like about anything related to do with pop culture, they were published on that Los Angeles website. So we publish all of our students' stories on Lethbridge Campus Media at our college, but then to get that extra promotion and profile, the students are featured with those artificial intelligence stories in Boston. They're published in Los Angeles, and there was at least one student who partnered with that Saskatoon company who were then featured in their magazine that is an annual publication. So a lot of extra exposure, a lot of great opportunities for the students to add to their resume. And before they even graduated from the 2-year diploma program, that really opened up some doors. And of the people that are profiled here in the top right corner, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 that are working in industry in journalism right now. So a couple newspapers, 1 radio station and 1 television station. So it really helped, I think, those students. They're really motivated to begin with, but again, to open their eyes to some new opportunities that they could even do some freelancing around the world once they graduate. So that was pretty cool.
That's amazing. Like even before they graduate, they already have that little bit of an international experience, but also, I guess, something to put into their portfolio, I guess.
Exactly.
Awesome. Final question for you here, Kris. Do you have any advice for any of the other educators out there who are looking to, leverage work-based learning and ensure learners or students are having a really good, meaningful experience?
Yeah, I think just to start off slow and to start with one company, it worked really well just because I had that flexibility of working from home. There is a great way to kind of balance all these projects at once, and it made sense. I would assign a Riipen project, at least in my perspective, 1 assignment per partnership. So that way, if it doesn't work out, you haven't dedicated an entire semester to this project or this collaboration. So that way, the students, for example, this Dorkaholics piece in the middle here, they could write a pop culture piece over the course of the entire semester. And so I chose a deadline for all the students, and they picked a deadline. And then so Dorkaholics knew when that content was coming to them, that it could be published on their site, and it worked out really well. So just making sure that you have really clear expectations right off the start. Know that the Riipen team is very responsive, and they get back to you so quickly to help you in whatever way you need to really have that good understanding of how this project will unfold. So don't feel that is going to be something really overwhelming, because I just had a lot of fun, and I think the students really did as well. So start off small, and 1 assignment per project and collaboration, I think, is a couple of great tips that will make it a really enjoyable experience for educators.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kris. And before you hop off, actually, if anyone wants to reach out to you, if anyone has any questions, a fellow educator who this might be their first time, or this might be they've been here for quite a while, but they'd love to learn some tips and tricks from you, where can they reach out?
Yeah, definitely. Really, let's see here if I can do this properly. There, in the right chat window. Here's my email. Thanks so much, Andre. It was a lot of fun, and what's nice is that I have a practicum course starting in January for those multimedia students where they can work with different companies for 120 hours. And so I've set up about 30 different partnerships, but
Oh, wow.
the big thing is the but. The students have to be motivated to choose those partners and decide if they're a good fit for themselves. And if that works out, great. I know at least one student has already reached out to a Toronto-based company. So I'm really excited to see how that pans out. It's much different than what I'm used to with just one assignment, but for a whole practicum experience for an entire semester of 120 hours, I'm really excited to see how this one turns out. So
That's super incredible. Well, thank you so much, Kris, and thanks for joining us. And thank you for helping us get to that 100,000 milestone. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And now I'm going to pass it back to Emily and Michelle.
Thank you very much, Jan. Michelle, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emily. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I'm Riipen's content marketing lead. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. I want to briefly talk to you about this new publication that our team had released a couple of weeks ago titled Opportunity for All. This is a white paper that explores online work-based learning marketplaces and how they help bridge the gap between learners and meaningful careers while expanding equity and career readiness at scale. We had also hosted a wonderful panel discussion with work-based learning experts, but don't worry, if you missed that event, you'll be able to rewatch it as well as download your own free copy of the white paper through the link that is being shared in the chat below. The link will also be shared with you all after this webinar concludes in an email with the recording of this session as well. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Awesome. And yeah, now we'll move it over to a little bit of Q&A. This is always a busy time during the webinar. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to throw them into the Q&A feature. We'll try and keep an eye on the questions that are on the chat as well. But a question that did come up, I think Emily would be best for you to answer. Well, Emily, actually, best for you to answer. And I think it stemmed from the last Slido question that you had about the different integrations. I guess the general question is, what integrations does Riipen already currently offer?
Thanks, Jen. So we offer 2 single sign-on integrations, which are available to any user through the sign-up page, one of which Emily Elias highlighted today. So that's Google Single Sign-On and LinkedIn Single Sign-On. We also offer 4 learning management system integrations using the LTI standard. So those are our integrations with Blackboard, Moodle, D2L, and Canvas. And what those include is the ability to embed your Riipen course page within one of those 4 learning management systems, to offer single sign-on for students and provide automated access for students to your course page. So they don't need to enter in an access code. We've really tried to adopt a flexible integration strategy as well, which means that we've tried to invest in tools that can be used in a lot of different contexts. So one of those is the Riipen Zapier app. That's Zapier for anyone who's not familiar with Zapier. But this is a tool that is available to anyone. Zapier isn't run by Riipen, but we essentially have an application on the Zapier app marketplace, which allows you to build your own sort of plug and play integrations with Riipen and any other platform that's on Zapier. So that includes Slack, that includes Google Sheets, HubSpot, Salesforce, etc. Riipen is a very heavy user of our own Zapier integration, and we find it really useful for setting up automations with other platforms. So I did want to plug that. And then we've also got for our users who have a little bit more development experience or who may have a developer on staff who's available to assist with integrations, we also have our API, which is available to any of our customers, docs.riipen.com. I'll put that in the chat. So please feel free to check out the API documents as well for building more custom integrations. But we do plan to continue to build out our integrations by offering more that are directly built into the platform, such as potentially the ability to integrate with Zoom, which is definitely something that we're all on board with. We're just in the technical exploration of that project.
Incredible. Not a question that was asked, but a follow-up question for myself. If there are any other integrations that a user thinks would be interesting, what would be the best way to reach out to you and the product team?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I do just want to make sure that everybody knows that whenever you relay a product feature request to whomever your direct contact is at Riipen, your account manager, customer delight representative, anyone you speak to at Riipen. They are always very good about relaying that to the product team. We have a system for doing that, so we make sure that those requests are definitely heard by my team. However, we'd also love to hear from you directly. So you can either do that by just sending us a message through live chat. If you just want to send sort of a in the moment message by clicking on the chat icon in the bottom right corner of the platform, you can send us a message there, or you can email us at product@riipen.com. We'd always love to hear from you.
Awesome. Another question here, again, more of a feature request. Does Riipen plan to offer peer feedback?
Thanks, Jen. Yes, actually. So this is certainly an upcoming feature, not planned for Q4, but for 2022, that we would love to hear input on. If anyone here specifically is interested in peer feedback, I would love to know, more about the use case that you're exploring. But we do absolutely plan to offer peer feedback within teams to allow you to get a more holistic score of your students scoring of your students. So as you know, today students get feedback from the employer, and of course they generally get their academic grade from the educator as well. We don't currently build in like a team performance score from their peers, and that is something we actually do plan to add. So we are currently sort of documenting the requirements for this particular feature and would love to hear any feedback on what your needs would be around that.
That's super exciting. We don't have any other questions for you right now, but again, if you have any other questions for Emily or anyone else on the Riipen team, feel free to reach out to product@riipen.com. You can reach out to anyone else on the marketing team through help@riipen.com or community@riipen.com. We keep an eye on all of those inboxes. So literally anyone of those emails you reach out to, there'll be someone on the other end to respond. Another quick thing we'd like to plug is we'd love your feedback on this webinar. This is something that we do on a quarterly basis. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve this for the next time, the next product coffee break will be scheduled for around mid to late January of next year. If you have any ideas, any thoughts, any comments, please feel free. There's a type form link that was just shared in the chat by Jennifer. If any of you have any thoughts, please head over to that. We'll also be following up this webinar with an email that has a link to that feedback survey as well as a recording to this webinar. So if you have any colleagues that couldn't quite make it to this meeting, maybe it's reading week, maybe it's the middle of midterms, feel free to forward that email to them as well. And I'm going to pass it over to Emily to close us off.
Thank you very much, Jan, and thanks so much to all of our attendees. I'm very pleased that we've managed to end on time. We don't always. So thanks so much for being here. We'd love to see you at our next one in January. And in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out to the product team. Love to hear your feedback. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.